So on the warm up, it is what is 4 3/8 as a decimal. So we know that that means the answer is going to be 4 point something, right? So how do we get that 3/8 to a decimal?
You figure out what 1/8 is, so that's 1.
Oh, you could. That's not how we talked about it yesterday. What do? We divide. That's right. We're going to do 3 divided by 8. You could do that. That's just not one of the methods that we talked about yesterday. We're going to do the numerator divided by the denominator. So that's going to be what? 8 goes into 30 how many times? 3. Because 8 times 3 is 24. By subtracting it's 6. 8 goes into 60 how many times? 7. Okay. And then that's 56. 4. Add another 0. Right? 2 zeros. And then 8 goes into 40 5 times. So the answer is 4.375. Okay? And then the next one, no one is going to like this one, right? 15. And how do we go to a fraction? What do? We have to before we simplify all.
Put the 15 at the side because it's 15 wholes.
We say it, right? Yeah, I thought that was in here. We say it, so we say it as 15 and there we go, 365 over 1,000. Now what do I need to do? Simplify. What can I divide both of those by? Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to take us a minute. 15, and then I'm going to do 365 divided by 5. I get 73 over 1,000 divided by 5 is what? 200. Now what? It's done because 73 is a prime number and it cannot go into 200. Both of those things. That's why we are done. Okay? Okay. Questions from last night's homework? I know it was pretty quick. Any questions from last night's homework? Now I'll give you time to ask. Okay. You should have picked up this little half sheet on the back counter, so go ahead and get out this half sheet. And if you're at home, you might need to copy it down. Today we're going to talk about comparing and ordering numbers. And just like when we did it last week with integers, you can use a number line to help you. Okay, but see, now what you're going to start to see is all different kinds of numbers. All right? This is probably the most important thing, underlined or highlighted or whatever. The first thing you need to do is make sure that they're all in the same form. Okay? What I mean is if you have fractions, decimals, percents, whatever, you want them all to be the same. Which form of these numbers do you think is the easiest to look at and compare? What form of the number? Decimal. Very good. And decimals are the easiest ones, okay? So we're going to first look at this one. It says use the number line to go from least to greatest. 1.43 is already a decimal. I can leave it alone. 2 1/4. What's 2 1/4? That's a decimal. 2.25. Guys, if I'm writing, you're writing. You have the paper in front of you. Negative 3 over 2 would be what? Negative 1.5. And see how, yeah, negative 1.5 or negative 1.5. Okay? And then 0.80, and then the last one is negative 0.15. Okay, so now that they're all the same type of number, we're going to put them on the number line. Okay, so we have 0. We need to figure out what they're counting by. 1, 2, 3, 4 things to get to 1.25. So that's exactly right. Okay, so each one of these things is 0.25 and so on. Okay. Okay, so 1.43, where would that go? Yeah, just about right here. 2.25 negative 1.5. Where does that go? Between what? The negative 1 and the negative 2. Because remember, the further to the left we go, the smaller the numbers are getting, but they appear like they're getting what? Bigger, so it's backwards when you're in negatives, okay? And then we've got 0.80. Where does that go? Yeah, somewhere around right there. And then negative 0.15. Yeah, I would put it between negative 1 and I'm sorry, 0 and negative 0.25. So somewhere about in, somewhere about here. Now don't start messing up. What did we find? Now just do something crazy. Okay. Now that we have them on the number line, we can now list them in order from least to greatest. So we're going to start which way? On the left, least to greatest. So we're looking at the things that are the furthest to the left, okay? So that would be negative 1.5. You know what, as I write, I just remembered something. You guys, when you make your list, it needs to be back in the original form. Some of you yesterday on your minor ticket, you forgot to put it like there was an absolute value of something, and when y'all made your list, you wrote the answer to that instead of the original form. I took off the point, okay? So you need to put the original form. So instead of negative 1.5, it was negative 3/2. Okay? The next one we come to is negative 0.15, which is, okay? 0.80, 1.43, and then 2.25, but really it's 2 and 1/4. Okay? The reason why I'm asking you guys to put it in the original form is because on a test or something, you're going to see it as multiple choice, and they're going to put them with those original numbers. They're not going to have the converted numbers. So you just want to get into that habit. Okay? Any questions? Okay? All right. So now, on the next page in your notebook, just draw a quick little number line. Okay? You will need 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That becomes 0.5, and then go the other way as well. Okay? If you're at home, pause the video to get this set up. Okay, so it says to plot 2/3 on the number line. Well, first, what do I need to do with 2/3? I need it as a decimal, okay? So 2/3 will be 0.6 repeating, okay? So if I look on my number line, where should it go? After 0.5, right? Because this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, so this would be 0.6, so then 0.6 repeating would go slightly after that. Did everybody catch that? Okay. Now, on the next one, we have another number line, but this time they put fractions on there. Does that matter? No. You've got two choices. We could convert this decimal to a fraction to make it match, or we could convert these fractions on the line to decimals. What would y'all rather do? Always. You guys, I always think it's easier to convert those fractions to decimals because the whole point is it's easier to compare. Okay? Okay, so now if I'm putting negative 0.4 on the number line, that means I'm going to start at 0 and go to the left. So this would be negative 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. So it should go right there, negative 0.4. Okay? I forgot to do something, I have to admit. I forgot to do something on that half page. So, my bad. Go back to that your little half page after you're done with this problem. Go back to the half page. Okay? You can use a number line. I just forgot. You can use a number line just like what we did, but I'm going to show you guys another way, okay? And some of you are going to like the other way better than this one, okay? Another way to do it, there's space. You guys can do this on the bottom, maybe if you have space, or you might need to turn your papers over, I'm not sure. I'm going to go on the side. Okay, ready? Okay, so what I was saying is that another way you can do this is to make a list, okay? And list the numbers. And if you have not the greatest handwriting, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you. When you make your list, 1.43, you want to make sure you line up the decimals. So the next one will be 2.25, and then negative 1.5, 0.80, and then negative 0.15, okay? All I did was list the numbers, okay? I haven't ordered them yet. I just put them there, and I've lined up the decimals, okay? It's just like when you probably did this back in elementary school, okay? So now, where am I going to start comparing? Starting from the left. So I'm looking for the smallest ones. So that means I'm going to start with one of these two negative numbers. Which one's smaller, -1 or -0? Ah, see, you got fooled. I heard somebody get fooled. Remember that the more negative the number gets, it appears like it's bigger. But -1 is actually smaller. So this would be our first number, and this would be our second smallest number. Okay? Now I can look at the rest of these. I've got a 0, a 1, or a 2. Which one's the smallest? The 0, so that one would come third, that one would come fourth, that one would come fifth. And then I can rewrite them all just like we did before. Okay? That's just another method, you guys. So putting them on the number line is one method, or making a list is another method. Do we care which way you pick? We really don't, as long as you pick one that works for you and you get it right every time. Okay? Right, moving on. Okay, so now we have some to do. Here's the we do, so please write we do in your notebook. Copy down the numbers. We are going to order them from least to greatest. Okay? So, step 1. What's step 1 again? Convert them. They need to all be the same form. So, -0.5 is good. But I need to fix this one. What would this be? -0.75. Okay? Then I've got 1 and 9/16. What do I have to do? Yeah, I'm going to divide it. I know it's going to be 1 point something, but now I know this is tedious. I know it. I got it. But we're going to have to do it, okay? So 16 goes into 90. I don't know. What's our guess? 6. Oh, too much. Close. So what is it? 5. There we go. So it was 5. I can tell that I will do this. It's nice how we just do that, huh? Because I'm going to run out of room. Okay, so now where are we at? 100. So I'm thinking, well, we already did 6. It was 96, right? So 6. 40. How many is that going to be? 2. Ah, yes. Why did I say that? Because we've already had 80 over there, right? Okay. And thank you, Ms. Rudd, for giving us such a hard number to do. It's her fault, not mine. Okay. I know that was kind of long. It wasn't impossible. It was just long. Okay. And we'll live. It'll be okay. All right. The next ones are good because they're already decimals. I don't have to deal with it. Okay. So now I'm going from least to greatest. I could use a number line, right? or I could make a list. I think you should, I would make a list. Okay, 0.5, negative, 0.75, 1.565, negative 2.8, 3.25. Okay, so I made a quick little list there. Which one is the smallest? So I'm going to look at my two negatives, right? 0 or 2. Which one is more negative?
2.
The 2. So this one is going to be first. Then what? That one is second. So now I keep going in the ones place. 0, 1, or 3. 0 comes next. Then 1. Then 3. Okay? And now I can rewrite them on the number line, and I need to make sure I put the original form. So negative, I'm not number line. Negative 2.8. Then what? Negative 3/4. Good. Remember the original form, okay? The third one was 0.5. The fourth one, 1 9/16. And the last one, I'll run out of space, 3.25. There's our whole list. Okay? Alright, so it looks like a hot mess. I'm sorry. My division took up a lot of space. Y'all have scratched on the side. I don't. Okay? It looks like a lot of work, but it's not really hard. Just come on. Okay? Next one. Can you see that now we're getting into everything we've already talked about for the year? It's not just integers anymore. It's decimals, fractions, absolute value, opposite of the number. It's all coming into play. You guys see that? Okay. First. Okay, so this one has two issues to deal with. What's the first issue I have to deal with? Absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 1 1/3 would be what? 1 1/3. Okay? The next issue it has to deal with is what? I need to change it to a decimal. So 1 1/3 would be what? 1.3 repeating. Okay? 0.45 is good. I don't have to do anything with it. Now the next one says the opposite of negative 4. What's the opposite of negative 4? Positive 4. The next one is 3.2. I don't need to do anything to that. And then I've got negative 2/3. Negative 2/3 would be negative 0.66 repeating. Okay? Now, greatest to least means big to small. So what's the biggest one up here? 4 would be the biggest one. Okay, what's the next biggest? 3.2. What would be the next biggest? 1.3. What would be the next biggest? 0.45. And then the only negative one we had up here. You guys, if you just right then when we were putting them in order, if you were having a hard time, then that's when you need to do an underline or you need to make a list. Okay? I just wanted to show you that, where you're headed, where your goal should be is to not have to do that, okay? But now we need to write them out, greatest to least, now that I ordered them in the original form. So that would be the opposite of negative 4, right? 3.2. The third one was absolute value of negative 1 1/3. The fourth one, right? 0.45. And the fifth one was negative 2/3. All right. Questions? All right. Okay, so now we have some more of these, and this one we're just going to compare with less than or greater than, okay? So you'll need to copy these down. When the slash looks like that, that means 3/5. It's just the smart board doesn't let us do fractions unless we copy the them from somewhere else, so a slash means the same thing. Okay, so go ahead and copy these down and then we'll do it together. If you're at home, pause the video. Okay, so the first one, 3/5 compared to 0.65, I need to do what with this? Make it what? This is a benchmark. What is it? 0.6. 0.6 is less than 0.65. Okay? The next one, 4/15. Again, I don't know that one, so I would have to divide that out. So 4 divided by 15 would be, how many? Was that 6? No. Yeah, 6. 9. Oh, I see what you're saying. So did you catch what he said? So he was saying that this is negative 0.26. Do I really need to go any further? No, because what he's saying is that if you look here, there was nothing here. So once, because that's really a 0. So once we ended up with anything more than 0.2, then that tells you that negative 4/15 is what? Less than. Oh, good. I'm so glad you didn't get fooled. It appears like it's bigger, but because it's negative, it's really smaller. Okay? Good thinking. That's working smarter, not harder. I'm just saying on that number 2, I love that she said that, because that's a way to work smarter, not harder, which we didn't even finish it, okay? And now on the third one, this is 6.17 versus 6/17. Do I need to do any work at all? Why not? Because this is a whole number, and this one is smaller than 1 because it's a fraction. So obviously, this one is bigger. I don't need to do conversions and stuff like that. Again, that's working smarter, not harder. Okay? All right. For the rest, Is it? Remember that as I go, this would be negative 0.1, negative 0.2, negative 0.26 would be further here, which makes it smaller. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about flipping that sign. It looks like it's bigger, but it's not. Okay. All right, so now for the rest of the time, we have a quizzes live. We also have your worksheet that you guys pick up over that counter for homework.